Good afternoon. Dear brothers and sisters, indeed, I feel very happy and a great honor to speak this big gathering, an opportunity to share some of my thought, hopefully some as a use, because we are same human being. Same being means emotionally, mentally, physically, we are same. And more important, everyone by nature have a desire to have happy life, joyful life. And do not want any problem, any suffering. Same, 100% same. Then everyone, so long that kind of desire there, everyone have same right to achieve happy life, successful life. Communicate very easily, no barrier. If I talk faith, religion, then sometimes there's a barrier between religious person or non-religious person, there is a barrier. If I talk Buddhism, then within the believer, there is a barrier. Or nationality basis, speak from Tibetan, then there's a barrier. Tibetan, American, although nowadays you see, many American Tibetans also now there. So we are talking on fundamental human level. That I feel very, very important, because many problems which we are facing, many problems essentially human-created problem. That's clear. So in that, many of these man-made problem or human-made problem. The other day I mentioned not only man-made, but women-made problem also there. So in any way, a problem which essentially our own creation, that I think much come on secondary level. That is different faith, different color, different social background, different sort of nationality, different political system, different ideology. These are secondary, not fundamental. I think in the fundamental level, I think much less differences, as I mentioned earlier. Therefore, when we facing many problems which essentially our own creation, then the way to tackle that, we must find ways and means on the level of human being. Then I think we can reduce these problems to some extent. So now here, I think firstly, spirituality. I think there are two levels. One, spirituality based on religion, faith. That's one category. Then another, there must be another level. That's spirituality simply on the basis of universal value. So not necessarily based on religious faith. So now here I will talk something about that level. And also I think everybody appreciate warm-heartedness, compassionate attitude, friendly attitude. Everybody appreciate that. Even animal. If we show them genuine love, kindness, affection, they also appreciate. And we too, when some pet showing us their affection, we feel very happy. So that's the universal. I think everybody loves warm-heartedness. Friendship comes from warm-heartedness. Not only sense of closeness, feeling, but also sense of concern of the well-being of the other. So there are also the sense of respect other and respect others' right. So these are the universal value. So now question is whether these inner value can produce by mission? No. Can produce by injection, drugs? Difficult. And then can we buy these values? Impossible. And through government regulation or law can bring these things? Yes, I think to some extent, but not
adequately.
Ah.
Not adequately.
Not adequate. So then, another question, whether we can develop these things, all human beings? I think answer, yes. Because we all have same potential of that warm-heartedness or affection. Because I think quite simple. We now here, perhaps nearly 10,000 people, maybe here, we all come from our mother. Then, at the time of our birth, and after a few years, our survival entirely depend on mother's care, mother's affection. Now I always telling people, my own case, my mother, not sort of educated, just a villager or farmer. Illiteracy, illiterate, but very, very warm-hearted person. No, I demonstrated what is here inside. So my mother is so kind-hearted. One occasion, my mother, they approached by some Chinese who come from
mainland China.
From mainland China, mainland or outside the interior. Almost starvation. So my mother, or actually the couple, nearly starvation. And then carrying one dead child. Then my mother give all the sort of food which available in our own house. And then also my help your dead body's cremation. Cremation. Then that is a couple state. Now they're so hungry. So they're going to eat. Not that dead body is sort of the body. No. Heal to them. So one incident like that. So usually, whenever some poor people begging to her, she always give everything like that. So very kind, very, very kind. Almost I never saw my mother's anger. Always calm. Even some difficult period, my mother still calm. My father, not like that. Very short temper. So therefore, I believe certain amount of my sort of compassion or sense of sort of concern of others' well-being, I think, firstly, I learned that from my mother. So as far as compassion is concerned, my first teacher of that is my mother. So sometimes I jokingly say, telling people that my mother is so kind, so it in some way spoiled me. That means when I was very young, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years old, my mother used to carry me on her shoulders. So then I hold my mother's ear to ear. When I want to go this direction, go like that. And want to go this way, like that. And if my mother, they not sort of follow my sort of
direction,
then I hit like that. So my mother so kind, so gentle, so I become more aggressive, I think, and bully my mother. So now everybody at very young age, our survival totally depend on who acting like mother. That's clear. So according scientists, medical scientists, after birth, next few weeks, simply mother's physical touch is one crucial factor for proper development of child's brain. Then obviously, I think here, those, I think, individuals who receive maximum care at that age, I think you easily show compassion to other people. That those individuals who some way lacking affection from our mother at that period, I think nowadays you find more difficult to show affection to other. Do you always remain cold? That not only was attitude, but also the Mendel's mental state. Those people who early age, very happy life, full of affection, their mental state much more stable. And through that way, their physical
Condition
also much better. Physical well-being also much better. Nowadays, the scientific research now find indications that the peace of mind, calm mind, is a very crucial factor for happier. Hatred is very bad for our health. Anger, hatred there, or immense, great jealousy, these emotions there, then fear, unnecessary fear usually come. Calm mind, more compassionate mind, unnecessary fear, I think very rare. Because one's own heart is open. And because of one's own attitude, more compassionate attitude, so that person feel everyone is something your friend. Other hand, if some hatred here, that brings suspicion, that brings fear, that brings tension. So the medical scientists say, hatred, strong anger, fear, these actually eating our immune system. The calm mind, more compassionate mind, the strengthening or sustain our immune system, like that. Then also, you see, some scientists, you see, they mention that those people who often, you see, express the word I, my, me, like that, such people have greater risk of heart attack. So although they didn't explain
why,
or the connection, why. And I thought, and later I also discuss with scientists, naturally, those people whose, in their
everyday language, in their everyday language,
these words, I like that. That's certainly reflection of their mental state, mental attitude. So naturally, these people, I think, very much self-centered, extreme self-centered attitude. So think just one, I like that. Then your whole mental attitude then become narrow. And also, just think oneself and all. And as a result, difficult to reach out easily with other people. So the feeling of loneliness also comes. Then also the more narrow-minded sort of attitude, narrow.
Your vision.
Vision narrow. So even small problem appears unbearable. Whereas people who think about well-being of other, then our mind become wider. So with that sort of wide angle problem, then it appears not that much significance. So much easier to bear, to face it. So that I think it looked like that. If you look or analyze, then it seems like that. So therefore, self-centered attitude, lack of affection to other, is very bad for our health. And to some extent, I can tell you my own sort of experience. Of course, I constantly, you see, experience of anger, agitation. But generally, you see, my mental attitude to other, more, so to say, as I mentioned earlier. Firstly, I always feel everyone, 6 billion human beings, just human being. I always look importance of that rather their background or social sort of status or color, or I don't care. Whether meeting with president or king or royal family or beggar, no differences. One makes differences. That is so long showing genuine human feeling. Then I feel very happy. Even the beggar. I think sometimes those people who so-called upper class or more successful people, their word, their physical attitude may not show true feeling. More sophisticated sort of thing. So therefore, so some people, of course, although you see showing a smile, but sometimes smile, artificial smile, or diplomatic smile, or behind the smile, there's some purpose, like that. So therefore, the other day in San Francisco, I went
to soup kitchen. Yeah.
Soup kitchen, homeless. Very nice. I really enjoy. Because everybody is very straightforward and very innocent, I think, very innocent. So I also introduced them. In a way, I also homeless. Last 50 years, now homeless. But a homeless person, homeless person found new happy homes. And actually here is a Tibetan saying that the place wherever you feel comfortable, that is your home. And whomever you receive kindness or loving kindness, care, that's your parent. So I found everywhere, I think people really showing kindness, and not only me, but many Tibetans, you find that wherever they live, they found many, loving kindness, like that. So in any way, You see, when I meet these homeless people, I really enjoy dining with them. And particularly, I met one on my table, one as the American. Oh, he also showing interest about Buddhism. And when he laughs, his sound is very strong, very beautiful, very beautiful. So we chat. I think almost 1 hour while we are dining, like that. So the 6 billion human beings, basically same, as I mentioned before. So if we go fundamental level, as I mentioned earlier, no barrier. So I think that kind of my attitude really brings inner satisfaction, calm. And that also reflects my body. Last year, I gone through some surgery, gallbladder remove. At that time, the concerned doctor described me this young patient. He described me young patient. Then I told him, I'm not young. I'm over 73 years old. Then he told me, yes, he knows your age, but your physical is something like in 60s. So therefore, he described me as a young patient. He told me like that. So these things, I believe, so I have nothing special. Or some people, believe Dalai Lama have miracle power. Nonsense. And also some people, believe Dalai Lama have healing power. If I have healing power, my healing power must use not taking this operation. So this very fact, through surgery, they remove the gallbladder. That's the clear indication I have no healing power. So some people, they seek my blessing with the belief Dalai Lama have some healing power. That is a mistake. Then you get disappointment. So like that. So therefore, I'm just nothing, just a human being, just like you. We are same. But differences, I think my calm mind really makes differences. My physical health and also peace of mind. Now, age 16, I lost my freedom. Age 24, I lost my own country. Now nearly 74. And during 9 years, since around 16 to 24, there's a constant fear, threat. Very difficult situation. Then last 50 years, it's a constant sad news from Tibet. And meantime, the problem is so big, entire Tibetan population put hope and trust and much expectation. So my position is not easy one. But I think due to my practice of compassion, and also I think I always follow more realistic attitude. Now quite hot. I think this is not sufficient now. yeah. So, chik yone yamuru.
I came into.
One to do maybe.
Yes. Mogo. Mogo, mogo.
So,
This.
so through my own experience, from my own experience, I can tell you, peace of mind really, really get a big benefit. Not only peace of mind, but also physical health, and also the peace of mind really create peaceful atmosphere. So therefore, realize this inner quality and pay more attention about this inner quality is really worthwhile. Really worthwhile. Now the promotion, the way to promote these inner value, I usually describe, I believe, 3 ways. Number one, through theistic religious way of approach. The concept of God, infinite love, all-powerful, almighty, like that. That also very helpful to strengthen, to promote these inner value. Then second, non-theistic way. That is the law of causality. So if you do good for other, you get benefit. If you do harm on other, and you get negative consequences. So therefore, if possible, help other, serve other as much as you can. If not, restrain harming, at least restrain harming other. So because of law of causality, for your own interest, you must restrain harming other. So that's one way of promoting this inner value. Then there must be a third one, because 6 billion human beings, over 6 billion human beings, in reality, particularly when we facing problem, majority not much care about one's own belief.
Religious belief.
Religious belief. So there is also this saying in Tibet,
So a Tibetan master once said, said the following with respect to how people tend to relate to their religious faith. And he said that people generally will say that the scriptures say such and such, but
we have to follow realistic way. So if necessary to cheat, if necessary to bully other, if necessary to harm other, like that. So we always say justice, truthful. But when say some money matter involved, then telling lie or hypocrisy, like that. Like that, isn't it? So therefore, I think a majority of the 6 billion human beings, I think not much serious about one's own religious faith. So therefore, these people, firstly, majority, and then also these are human brothers, sisters. So we must find ways and means to reach to these people, the clear sort of awareness of inner values. So that I call secular way. Because these, oh, so these, the basic sort of human value, as I mentioned before, these are come from our mother, not come from religious faith. Of course, later religious faith also, you see, immense help to sustain or to increase these things. So basically, just a universal value. Of course, animal, no religion, but they also have the capacity to show affection to other. So therefore, these value itself, I consider secular values. So the way to promote these should be, should have more secular way. Now, when I use the word secular here, does not mean the disrespect or rejection of religion. No. Some people take sort of the interpretation or the meaning of seculars is some rejection of religion. When I say this, according to Indian, like Mahatma Gandhi, one of the, I think modern history, I think one of the main person who promoting secularism in India. And India's, or say the constitution itself based on secular. But meantime, he himself very much religious-minded. And he recite some kind of hymn survey.
Hymns, religious hymns.
From different traditions. And his follower always recite that hymns from or quotations from different traditions. So Mahatma Gandhi sort of practice respect all religions, no preference this religion or that religion. So therefore, according to this version, the secularism does not mean rejection of religion. Of course, in like I think French Revolution and also the Bolshevik Revolution, and then during those periods, I think secular means something against the religion. That also, if we go very precise, not necessarily religious concept. Nobody can sort of reject these sort of concept of love, compassion, forgiveness, tolerance, self-discipline. No base to reject these things. These we need. So then the rejection is, I think, aiming for institution. At that time, the ruling class very much sort of backing by the religious organization.
Institutions.
Religious institution. In the case of French king and also Russian Tsar, the religious institution backing and create impression that king or Tsar have some special blessing from God. So that manipulate ruling
the people
or suppress. Like that. So therefore, in order to break through, or sheep,
to pull down,
to destroy, in order to destroy the sort of royal, the
authority,
you need willpower, even to against God. Because the ruling class have special blessing from God through church. So logically, certain sort of circumstances, you need, I think, it is some relevant. But usually, particularly when I say secularism, no meaning disrespect religion. In fact, respect all religion. And also respect non-believer. Also, as human brothers, sisters, they also have the same right. They deserve our affection, our concern. Clear? So now, third way to promote these inner values, now logically, the secular way, not touching with religion. So usually, when I give talk about the importance of inner value and the compassion, these things, I approach the secular way. So now here also, I'm speaking these values without religious,
the concepts, without touching religion.
Without touching religion. So now here, use our common experience, as I mentioned before. From our mother, we receive maximum affection. That really makes our life different. Then common sense. We are social animal. Social animal means individual's future related with the rest of the community. So there must be something to bind together. Money alone cannot bind. Human affection and sense of community, sense of belonging, or sense of community. These bring as a happy community. Each member of this society full of hate with each other, then how can develop happy community? And community full of hate with each other, suspicion, never bring benefit to individual. Right? So that's against our basic structure as a social animal. Therefore, we say the binding together as a social animal is affection, compassion, warm-heartedness. So if you have warm-heartedness, more compassionate attitude, then mentally you feel your friend, you feel, oh, my friend. Left, you feel friend. Right, you feel friend. If you keep fear, hatred constantly here, then you feel in front, enemy. This side, also enemy. This side, also enemy. Clear? Imagine. Therefore, the elimination and all enemy is impossible. I think in history, last few 100,000, I think nobody succeed to complete
their enemies. Eliminate all their enemies.
Eliminate even Stalin or Mao Zedong. One person eliminate, another person come, another person eliminate, another person come. When the September 11th event happened, then I expressed, in fact, I wrote a letter to President Bush that since I know him very well, so therefore I wrote letter, I think 12th September, I wrote letter, and I express my condolence, my sadness, and meantime I also express the way they handle this problem, hopefully more non-violent way. So therefore, since then, you see, many occasions I express, if you handle this problem of terrorism, more violent way, then today, 1 Bin Laden. Next time, 10 Bin Laden. Then after that, 100 Bin Laden possible. So hatred, anger, violence can defeat others physical, but never their mind. One person kill his or her relative, more grievance.
Resentment.
More resentment. Now, exactly now happening in Iraq and Afghanistan. And also quite similar inside Tibet also, and Xinjiang also. More authority suppression, killing, torture, more resentment. Like that. So therefore, no one can eliminate all those disliked people. But there is always possible, even today's unfriendly person, eventually there is possibility to change best friend, also possible. So therefore, so in order to build happy society as a social animal, key factor is warm-heartedness. So that's common sense. Then scientific finding, as I mentioned before. Now more and more research about the connection between body health and the mental state. Now more evidence, the close connection, peace of mind, compassionate mind is very, very good for our health. So that's about my talk. Kasari.
Path to happiness and inner peace.
Oh, path to
happiness
and inner peace. Oh. Through inner peace, genuine happiness comes, isn't it? Happiness, two level. Happiness with the society, happiness with the individual. In both cases, through inner peace. What do you think? Some sense? Okay, thank you. Just before I come here, you see some sort of meeting, some families. So one young person used to ask me what my sort of suggestion to young American, and I told I may touch my public talk. But one thing I did not touch so far, that means I also briefly mentioned to that person, in modern society, all external facilities are marvelous. So the people in that kind of society, and eventually become habit, always using our sensorial thing, eye, television, or some sort of show, some kind of play, like that, and music, like that. So when a person not much sort of use these things, then feel lonely, uncomfortable. So here, very important, sensorial thing, important, but these are not ultimate source of inner peace. Ultimate source of inner peace, as I mentioned earlier, are inner value. Inner value not depend on sensorial
Experience. Experience.
sensorial experience, but mainly analytical or awareness. So therefore, pay more attention about our inner value or inner world. It can be helpful. Now, when I passing through sort of the airport or like that, when you see the air delayed 30 minutes or 1 hour, and some people too much sort of impatient,
Agitated.
Sometimes me too. But usually, when you see the announce 30 minutes or 1 hour is delay, and I immediately close my eye and think some inner thing. Or another word, instead of the visit outside, but visit inner side. Go like that. Then 30 minutes, 1 hour, very rapidly go. You see, no need impatience. Whether in the plane, whether in the waiting house, this same body, same brain, same opportunity, like that. So therefore, I think our young people pay more attention about inner world. That can be useful. Then also the other day in San Francisco, I think Berkeley University.
Berkeley.
Right.
Yeah.
Berkeley University. I mentioned we Tibetan, last 50 years, we have one slogan: hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. So, right from the beginning, we expect some difficulties. Then much easier when actual difficulty come. If life too much easy, then some slight obstacle comes, then too much ups and downs. So therefore, the young people should be more realistic, and that kind of attitude may helpful. So now some questions.
Your Holiness, how can we balance spirituality with the crazy modern world? And
modern world not crazy, but ourselves crazy. I think if world really crazy, then everybody on this planet, I think, must be crazy. But that's not the case. So ourselves is crazy. So we can change our world. I think change must, then community level, then national and international global level, like that. So that's my view.
The same person asks, do you have a pet?
Pet? Or sometimes you say, I have one dog. That dog now passed. So every morning I remember that, and then some prayer.
Why do relatively small number of individuals seem to face endless and constant suffering, in contrast to others who seem to have less illness, less pain, and loss? How does one stay optimistic in the face of constant sorrow and pain?
Yes, now, yes. That's a good question. Well, I think, as I briefly mentioned, the realistic attitude is very helpful. Now here, when we face some problem, some tragedy, including physical illness or some your friend loss, if you are believer and believe God, then you must think, apparently these are tragedy, very bad, but Creator, merciful, all-knowing, that one way. Then those persons who believe law of causality, such as Buddhist,
Karma.
then, such as Buddhist, then we think about our past wrong deeds. Today's event, unfortunate event happened because of our past mistake, wrongdoing. So that helpful. See, they ultimately blame almost oneself, one's own mistake. So mentally, less agitation. Usually, something happened, we always blame on other. That, on top of suffering, also anger. That brings more suffering. Then another thing, non-believer. I think here, one Buddhist concept, that concept can be easily, bring in secular thinking.
Secular way.
Now the Buddhist concept, things are interrelated, interconnected. Things are relative. There is no one absolute. So here, one tragedy happened. But firstly, you see that tragedy, compare another one, even worse case, this better. And this tragedy, compare some other, then this is really tragedy, tragic. So because of the different sort of appearance, if you look from different angle, same tragedy. Now, for example, we lost our own country, become refugee, last 50 years. If you look from that angle only, more sadness. But thinking, try to look from another angle. Yes, this tragedy brings us a lot of new opportunity, meeting with different people, including many, they follow of different tradition, different religious tradition, and also scientists and variety of people, and also opportunity to talk. So thinking this line, that sort of tragedy, one way, very sad, really tragic thing, but at the same time, some positives, positive things also you see create by that tragedy. So that's also is one way to look from different angle. And then any problem, if you look from closely, you feel more
unbearable.
But look from distance, then think, over 6 billion human beings, the similar sort of unfortunate things many people may face or is facing. So remember that, not my own case. That also help to reduce our anxiety, our agitation. then this tragedy happened because its own causes and conditions. Then look, causes and conditions, then vast related. One tragedy, not absolute or independent, not independent. Due to this, this happened. Due to that, this happened. And not only present condition, but also the previous week, previous month, previous year, previous century. You see, they create today's sort of tragedy. So that brings us a concept. Now, this tragedy happened due to many, many factors. Then your anger lost target. Usually our anger aiming simply one absolute target or independent target. So when we fail to find independent target, then our anger, because of the soften. Here my friend or one scientist, when I met him over 84 years or old, then you see, in our conversation, you see, he told me, when we develop hatred or anger, the object which we develop anger, you see, that object appears full negative. Actually, the negativeness here, 90% of negativeness is mental projection. He mentioned. This exactly, Buddhist literature also mentioned that. When they explain about destructive emotion develop, that is mentioned. So there are much sort of involvement of mental exaggeration. So therefore, when look, some negative things, negative event happen, then think causes and conditions. Then variety, vast sort of the causes and conditions involved, including your own behavior. So then intensity of anger will reduce. These are realistic approach. Then finally, one sort of advice. One tragedy, one tragic situation already happened. Then think whether there is possibility to overcome that. Then no need worry. Make attempt. If there is anyway no way to overcome that, then no use too much worry. Just think, because of fact is fact, already happened. Then better to think some other field, some other sort of find to other opportunity like that. So realistic approach is very, very helpful when you are facing some problem. Usually I do that. Whenever I got one bad news, I immediately try to look, what positive side? I always look at. Then often I found some positive thing also that way. Yes?
Two last questions. Yes. How can we love everybody when there are people who are determined to not to let others live their life in their own way?
Now here, love or compassion, there are two levels. One level, mainly biological factor, that is limited, biased, and also oriented towards attitude. That's biological factor. Then another
Level.
level of compassion. That is not oriented attitude, but rather being.
With the person.
Like in case of human being, oriented to the human being, humanity. Now here, make distinction, action and actor. Now, the first one related or oriented towards action. So that, as you mentioned, is someone who really
Creating trouble.
takes create trouble deliberately. Then, because that their attitude is negative, so you can't sort of feel compassion. Now, second one, since not oriented to attitude, but the person, therefore, they disregard their attitude towards you, but still they deserve compassion. Now here, towards actor, keep compassion. Towards action, opposition, oppose, appropriate countermeasure. That's necessary. So is there someone who really going to harm on you without losing compassion towards that, take appropriate measure, appropriate action. That's very necessary. In fact, that's the better way to help other one. Because if others wrongdoing let him or let her do continuously, eventually more harmful to that. So out of sense of concern of that long-term consequences of the other wrongdoing, try to stop is actually helping without losing sense of compassion, sense of concern. Actually, such action carried by sense of concern of their future.
Their well-being.
Their well-being. So that kind of compassion is unbiased. Although they develop on the seed of biological factors, compassion, but further increased by reasons, by awareness, by training. So that second level of compassion is genuine compassion. That we need. That compassion, combination with wisdom. So through education, I believe through education, we can bring that kind of compassion to humanity. Biological factor, more or less there. Now, that take as a seed, then further
Cultivate it.
cultivate through reasons, through examples, through stories. I think we can develop that.
How can we help free Tibet?
Thank you. You are showing your sort of concern about justice. Tibet issue is just issue and moral issue. So usually I describe those supporters of Tibetan issue I do not consider as a pro-Tibetan, but rather pro-justice. So now here, I think everybody knows. You see, we are thinking or committing a solution from broader
Perspective.
Broader perspective. Actually, ultimately, as I mentioned, is oneness of humanity. And also, I always admire European Union spirit. So we Tibetan, materially backward, spiritually very much advanced. So if we get full protection of our spirituality, our culture, including our language, then as far as material development is concerned, it is our own interest remain within the People's Republic of China. So our struggle is one side to win, one side to lose, not that. But however, problem is the Chinese government is simply dismissed there is a problem. Just a few handful of people create this problem, including Dalai Lama. Since last year, they describe me as a demon. So I also, acting, now I call demon with horn. So other day, my friend asked me, why is the Chinese government is so much afraid?
Government.
Chinese government is so much afraid to you. Then I responded, because my horn. So anyway, so there you see the hardliner Chinese officials. See, their thinking is very narrow-minded. So they don't care long-term consequences. So in any way, I'm not going to detail. So therefore, this moment, I appealing to international, and also I appeal Chinese government from time to time, please show to the world the reality of Tibet. The Chinese government always say, people are very happy. Last 50 years, much happier than Dalai Lama's rule. So now the reality must show to the world. If things like that, then Chinese government must be proud to show, to invite people instead of restriction. So therefore, please try to go to Tibet and study on the spot, not only autonomous region of Tibet, but also in Amdo area, Kham area. What is the reality? What is the causes of the trouble? Last winter, I met one Amdo with his friend, one Chinese businessman, came together, see me, and then Amdo, his age, I think, nearly 70. Then he told me, grievance now expressed by today's younger generation. He mentioned like that. He concluded like that. So last 60 years, parent, grandparent suffer. A lot of grievance. That grievance
Passed on.
Their children. So these children become parent. Their grievance
Passed on
their children. So 3-4 generations passed. A lot of grievance. So the Chinese government must realize that. So after last year's crisis, at the beginning, I really hoped that now Chinese government may realize the reality. Otherwise, their communist officials very expert to show something different than the reality. So one story, last, I think 2 years ago, one Tibetan who visited his own native place near Lhasa. Now when he reached there, the villagers welcomed him, headed by village chief. So the village chief, explained to him, now we are very happy, everything is very good, the party very, very helpful to us, we have new building like that. Then after 1 or 2 days, one night he again visited that home of chief village.
No.
Then he asked, what is the situation? Then he just opposite story. He says, oh, now, terrible. Everybody remain constant fear. And then new buildings, new houses with some government sort of grant money. But that money not sufficient, not adequate. In order to build according to the quality which is sort of decided by the government. So everybody who have new house, Pulunjil studios.
So given that there was a certain standard that required by the government and the funding was not adequate, so everybody who had new homes were full of debts.
So he mentioned it's very, very difficult. Then he asked, why then other day you mentioned everything is very good. Then he answered, I have to say that way. So always so hypocritical way. So I thought, now the Chinese government may realize the true picture of Tibet. So may start realistic approach. But then at the beginning, some mixture because of signals. But then later, is it the hardliner sort of the short-sighted sort of blunt sort of
policy.
Blind sort of blind policy. Now they carry simply crush or suppression. So therefore, it is very, very useful. Go there, see. Must be because of that very detailed research. Just a short visit, you can't get the real picture. So the Chinese government side also should not put any restriction. People must allow wherever they want to go. As far as safety is concerned, they themselves take care, no problem. Like that. So ask Chinese embassy, visa, go there. Okay. It's I think quite expensive. So you can borrow some money from here to there. Go there. And particularly media people, go there. If things are, as Chinese stated, things are really nice, very good, then our information is wrong. So I must apologize. No problem. If things are really good, we have nothing to complain. Then our supporters also take rest. If situation is not that, then please, Kasore, be active more. Please, continuously. Yes. Now, last question.
What is the single thing that we can do today to help the world be more at peace?
Single
thing. What is the single thing that we can do today?
That I don't know. Things are complex. So difficult. Marve, I think that's unrealistic. If some miracle from sky, then maybe one single sort of event can change the whole world. That's impossible. I think one thing we can do about ecology, our day-to-day life, think about ecology. Save water, save electricity. Did it? And also then, I think global economic crisis, your lifestyle bit contented.
Simpler.
That's good. Isn't it? Although I noticed in previous times, nowadays smaller car. So that also good. So, some time ago, in Japan, I expressed your growth, year by year growth, always go like that. That not only autonomous region of Tibet, but also in Amdo area, Kham area. What is reality? what is the causes of the trouble? Last winter, I met one Amdo with his friend, one Chinese businessman, came together, see me, and then Amdo, his age, I think, nearly 70. Then he told me, grievance from through generations now expressed by today's younger generation. He mentioned like that. He concluded like that. So last 60 years, parent, grandparent suffer. A lot of grievance. That grievance
Passed on.
their children. So these children become parent. Their grievance
Passed on. No.
passed on their children. So 3-4 generations passed. A lot of grievance. So the Chinese government must realize that. So after last year's crisis, at the beginning, I really hoped that now Chinese government may realize the reality. Otherwise, you see, their communist officials very expert, you see, to show something different than the reality. So one story, last, I think 2 years ago, one Tibetan who visited his own native place near Lhasa. Now when he reached there, the villagers welcomed him, headed by village chief. So the village chief, you see, explained to him, now we are very happy, everything is very good, the party very, very helpful to us, we have new building like that. Then after 1 or 2 days, you see, one night he again visited that home of chief village.
No.
Then he asked, what is the situation? Then he just opposite story. He says, oh, now, terrible. Everybody remain constant fear. And then new buildings, new houses with some government sort of grant money. But that money not sufficient, not adequate in order to build according to the quality which is decided by the government. So everybody who have new house, Pulunjik studios.
So given that there was a certain standard that required by the government and the funding was not adequate, so everybody who had new homes were full of debts.
So he mentioned it's very, very difficult. Then he asked, why then other day you mentioned everything is very good. Then he answered, I have to say that way. So always so hypocritical way. So I thought, now the Chinese government may realize the true picture of Tibet. So may start realistic approach. But then at the beginning, some mixture because of signals. But then later, is it the hardliner sort of the short-sighted sort of blunt sort of
policy.
blind policy. Now they carry simply crush or suppression. So therefore, it is very, very useful. Go there, see. Must be because of the very detailed research. Just a short visit, you can't get the real picture. So the Chinese government side also should not put any restriction. People must allow wherever they want to go. As far as safety is concerned, they themselves take care, no problem. Like that. So ask Chinese embassy, visa, go there. Okay. It's very, I think, quite expensive. So you can borrow some money from here and there. Go there. And particularly media people, go there. If things are, as Chinese stated, things are really nice, very good, then our information is wrong. So I must apologize. No problem. If things are really good, we have nothing to complain. Then our supporters also take rest. If situation is not that, then please, Kasore, be active more. Now last question.
What is the single thing that we can do today to help the world be more at peace?
Single
thing. What is the single thing that we can do today?
That I don't know. Things are complex. So difficult. Marve, I think that's unrealistic. If some miracle from sky, then maybe one single sort of event can change the whole world. That's impossible. I think one thing we can do about ecology, our day-to-day life, think about ecology. Save water, save electricity. Is it? And also then, I think global economic crisis, your lifestyle bit contented.
Simpler.
Ah.
Simpler.
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 That's good. Isn't it? Although I noticed, you see, in previous times, the American street, a lot of big car. And nowadays, smaller car. So that's also good. So, some time ago, you see, in Japan, I expressed your growth, year by year growth, always go like that. That there is no guarantee, go like this. There is limitation. Sooner or later, you will find some stagnation or worse. So that I predicted many years ago. Then later, my Japanese friend told me, or appreciate, my sort of, what's the day, my thinking.
My suggestion now.
There is limitation. Now here, I often say telling people, as far as material value is concerned, in any case there is limitation. Then mental value is concerned, no limitation. So where there is limitation, better to content, better to practice of contentment.
Contentment.
Then the spiritual matter, mental sort of quality is concerned, no limitation, so should not content. But we usually opposite, isn't it? Material thing, we never content. We want more, want more. And the spiritual, inner value is concerned, we're quite contented. I think that's opposite. That's a mistake, isn't it? So that's all. Thank you very much. Thank you.